Yeah, my name's Kevin Mottram, and I am the NUT rep at Solveridge High School. I'm speaking in a personal capacity. Well, I want to start by saying that I remember back at the time of the general election, sat in the staff room at school, and people were talking about politics, over the way from me, and I was here reading like you do, and people were saying, who do you think will win? Will it be the Tories? What about the Lib Dems? I like the sound of Nick Clegg, and isn't Vince Cable really left wing, and all this sort of stuff that feels like a million years ago now. And now, you're straining, and someone over the way said, oh, Kevin, you follow these things perhaps a bit more than the rest of us. Who do you think's going to win the election? And I said, I think the bankers will win the election. And there was a sort of like, hang on a minute, that doesn't compute. We don't think of it like that. But that is the way that I think we do need to think of it, and it's increasingly the way that I think millions of people will be forced to think about it because of the scale of the crisis that Joe and Alice have been talking about. And I don't want to cover the ground that they've covered so well, but I think certainly, I think I remember reading in The Guardian something a while back saying that apparently we were 12 hours away from the cash points sealing up, and the government panicked because they knew that what kind of social discontent and social disharmony may come, if you can't get your money out of the cash in the wall thing. And so they threw the money at the banks. Now, what I think, there's all the numbers that are just completely bonkers and so on and so forth. I think what really matters here, is that we are talking about a massive, massive crisis in the system, which, even mainstream commentators are comparing to the 1930s. And nobody knows where the hell it's going to end. It's quite possible that it will get worse. Joe mentioned quantitative easing. Now, I'm not an economist, I'm a historian, but I know that quantitative easing is them printing money, basically. And I know that they did that in Germany in 1923, and that led to hyperinflation and all the rest of it. And there are one or two economists that I've found on the mainstream media that have said, this is very, very dangerous. We may live to regret this. This may come and bite us on the arse one day. It is a serious, serious crisis. And it's not just a crisis in terms of economics. It's therefore a crisis of ideas, I think, for the people at the top of society. And, there's an old Jewish saying, isn't there? A fish rots at the head first. And what is absolutely astounding to me is that the people that have been running the show for the last 10, 15, 20, 30 years and have made this absolute almighty mess of it, then expect us to all actually pick up the bill for it, And we were leafleting in town on Saturday for this meeting, gave out 1,000 leaflets. And it was really interesting. If you just stood there and said, do you want a leaflet? People would take one, and sometimes people wouldn't. They thought we were trying to sell them something like that. But if you said to people, would you like a leaflet? We're going to have a big meeting in Halifax on Monday night. We don't think there should be any kilts. The rich people at the top have made a mess of it, and they should pay for the crisis. They should pay for the mess, right? We have people going, you're absolutely right. One guy said, yeah, shoot the bastards. And I said, well, we don't want to go there, right? But, you could definitely feel that, it's there. There are people understand it. And I think what this comes down to is something which has been denied in this country's politics for 25 years, and that is that we live in a society that's absolutely riven by class divisions. And, that has not been talked about in the mainstream for 20, 25 years. The BBC, whenever they went anywhere near it, would say different socio-economic categories, and you think, you mean class, don't you? But you're not allowed to say it, because the Tories don't want to talk about it, the Lib Dems don't want to talk about it, and New Labour didn't want to talk about it. But everybody is talking about it now, or we should get people to talk about it, because like Alice said, 23 out of 29 people in the cabinet are actually multimillionaires. People like Cameron, I've read that book that came out about him recently, Cameron, going for the job at the Conservative Research Party, and the night before someone from the Buckingham Palace rings up and says he's a marvellous chap, you should give him the job. These are the kind of people that are actually at the top and expecting all of us lot to pay the price for it in terms of thousands of jobs and all the rest of it. And I think, it was wonderful the other week on the TV when I think it was the students demonstrating in Leeds, and they were interviewing the students as they were walking down, and they said to one lass, they said, what are you doing here? And she said, the tuition fees and all the rest of it, and she basically said, this means working class kids being excluded from further and higher education. And I cheered on my settee, there's the word class, there's the understanding of it. And I think, we have to meet it in that way, in terms of we have to get people to understand that it is a massive, massive
class attack on us and all the rest of it.